psychology and communication sciences.
Good.
Yeah.
And you have a lean towards a fair amount of Parkinson's patients.
Yes, currently right now I have 6 patients with Parkinson's.
Right.
This
That's a
is
lot.
probably the most I've ever had at one time too.
That's great. So what
Yeah.
we're going to do is we're going to steer the conversation over to CT, which is cognitive therapy.
Okay.
And
Sounds good.
that's what you'll be doing. And that's what I've been doing with you myself. That's why I
Yeah.
asked you to come on, because I enjoy it.
Well, good.
So,
I'm glad you like it. I think it's very therapeutic in a way, just not even just for the patient, but for me too. I get to learn more about how people learn things. Like you've taught me a lot of things along the way, because everybody learns in a different way. But it's enjoyable. It's something to just challenge your brain, which is something we should all do every day. I kind of was looking up just some stats about how cognitive impairment can be, affect those with Parkinson's. And it's actually up to, like, you have a mild cognitive impairment with Parkinson's, up to 20 to 50% of people with Parkinson's will experience a cognitive impairment.
why don't you give us the definition that you use when you talk about cognition and cognitive skills?
Sure. Cognition is, we kind of put it in a whole array of different things. So it could be your ability to orient yourself. So that's to time and to your environment, transitioning from different environments. And then we go into problem solving, or I call like executive functioning. So that's doing math, like balancing your checkbook, or figuring out a schedule by, I have to leave at this certain time if my appointment's on this day at this time. Also organization. So, if you get a lot of information at one time, how do you organize that? Do you do lists? Do you, plan it by like alarms or things like that? We also do recall, so memory. So your ability to retain information, so long-term and short-term. And short-term is probably the most affected, and that is very common. So being able to retain something that maybe happened yesterday is a lot harder than retaining something that happened 10 years ago. We also go into like your ability to find words, or word fluency, like I call it. So when you're talking and you go, I know what I want to say, but that word's not coming to me. That kind of goes in with that memory too, and that word fluency. So just your ability to manage and perform those abilities is all cognitive aspects.
So
jostle your mind?
what's that?
How do you jostle your mind to remember the word?
How do I do just try to find the word?
Jostle. How do you jostle your mind to remember the word?
Oh, how do you jostle the mind to remember the word? Well, you can, a lot of times I say use a strategy for it. So you could describe the word or use a synonym for that word. Sometimes the word that you want will actually just pop right in and you'll say, oh, that's right. Or it doesn't. So I always say it doesn't mess up the conversation. It doesn't create a bump in there, like where you're just kind of pausing. If you replace it with something else, or you start describing it to me or your listener, we actually can follow along. So it's more like a strategy. And then I have different exercises that help with that word finding. And that could be, let's see, if you write your name, and then for each letter of your name, try to write 10 to 15 words that begin with that letter, or give yourself a category. So things that have to be refrigerated. Try to list 10 to 15 things that have to be refrigerated. You're just kind of working on expanding that language, and then your ability to retrieve those words. It's going to be easier than kind of storing them way back where we haven't used them in a while. Does that answer your question?
You get that? You're still there?
Barry, I want to say hello to you. It's Gil and Laura Friedman. I think we'll be seeing you.
That's right. Hey, Gil. Yeah, that's right. So hopefully soon.
So the cognition and cognitive skills, they seem like they're slightly different. You differentiate with those two, or you think of them as the same?
So basing like cognition and just cognitive skills,
Yeah.
they go hand in hand. I'm sure if you look up a definition, they have different, definitives. Like your
Yeah.
cognition is your ability to basically function. You're using your brain. So cognition to me can encompass, your motor planning, just your speech output. You're using your cognition to be aware of yourself.
Right.
And cognitive abilities can, where you're actually, I guess, generalizing or applying those skills so that you're able to, think of the tip whenever you're at a restaurant, just that problem solving in your head. Like that's
Right.
your cognitive ability, but you have the cognition to be there and to eat. Do you have the cognitive ability to know how much to tip for that person without, having
Right.
to pull out a calculator or things like that?
Seems like you have more control over your cognitive skills, and they seem to be the first to go,
Yeah.
where the other ones are sort of always there, like seeing and listening.
Yeah, and I would say as a speech therapist and doing this for the past maybe 7 years, I feel like I work a lot more specifically on cognitive skills in general because people get frustrated that they can't do the things that they used to, and their memory's slipping and they're having more difficulty with, planning for a party or something like that, where it used to be a lot easier. I get that a lot where, well, I used to be able to do this so quickly. So that's a big component in just your overall lifestyle and everything that you do. And I think you're more aware of that sometimes first than the physical part of it too, depending on the severity of, with the Parkinson's.
Right. Because that's when people should pay attention to that, because they could be trying to change something that's not really fixable instead of the one that you have control over.
Right.
So
Or I always think too, I always tell people, I wish that I knew how to bring back memory, because that's something that once we start to lose it, I can't bring it back, but I can teach you different strategies to improve your memory. It's, I always say, why stress so much about trying to memorize something when you can just write it down, or, set an alarm for yourself instead of always forgetting to take your medications, because you're just not thinking about it. Set an alarm, make it easier on yourself. Because that's a part of just normal aging too. We're going to start to forget more.
right. So the main thing is it's not a life sentence
No.
with your strategies, even if seems like this. I try to find a case study of this, and they've done a lot of them, but they don't seem to ever show a definitive helping of Parkinson's.
I think because Parkinson's can be so, a variety or, a spectrum of, where people are that
Right.
with their cognitive abilities. And I think too, it's hard because every person is so different and how our brain functions is so different too. I think with Parkinson's and cognitive therapy, I see more of that, like the motor planning part of it. So maybe some recent recall and things, but I think that where you get your brain to tell your body what to do, and then we kind of lose that connection between there.
Right.
So even if you start ahead of time with cognitive exercises, that can reduce the onset or the progress of that, that inability to motor plan, then using your brain to function to walk from one area to another.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody have anything that happened to them that they want to find out from Carrie, if it's related to Parkinson's?
Yes, Harry, are there any special strategies to improve facial recognition, retention?
So give me an example.
I can't remember, like your face. Of course, you had a mask the first time. I think you did. So
Yeah.
it's very difficult for me to correlate.
So like recall. Mm-hmm.
Oh, here they come again, and realize it's somebody I know.
Yeah, so what you can do for that one is if the person feels comfortable, or you could have a picture of that person, kind of putting them in a row with other pictures of people, and identifying that person each time, so it's like a repetitive, and then having those pictures and flipping them over, and then finding out, okay, which one was Carrie, and going through, this one's Carrie, that kind of repetitive, especially with that recognition part. I do that a lot when people get to later stages of cognitive decline, like with a spoon and a fork and a knife. So we'll look at different pictures, and I'll have an array of, knives and spoons and forks, and I'll just need them to pin out or pick out the fork. I need the fork. I need the fork. And then you generalize that to an actual object. So here's the fork. But you could do that with people too. Just depends on how many pictures you have of the person, if they're able to get a picture of them. But I've done that for facial recognition, or just even object recognition.
Does that answer your question, Gil?
This sure does. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything that they noticed with Parkinson's, just to see if it's aging or just Parkinson's? That's always a hard thing to do. Well, could you explain that? Like when somebody goes to the doctor, they say, here's the 5 things that are bothering me. Which ones are Parkinson's?
Yeah, well, actually, I was just thinking about that. I used to have a sheet. Let me see if I still have it in here. I don't know if I do. I have one more, and I can give it to you. It's a packet of just, what's normal aging versus what's maybe dementia, or early onset like Alzheimer's. Like, what's the difference, or what's something that's typical and not.
Right.
So forgetting someone's name, very typical, very common. Forgetting the name of a spouse or a child or a grandchild even might be a little bit more of a significant need for cognitive intervention. Forgetting something at the grocery store when you leave, I do it all the time, very common. Forgetting where you parked when you go outside to leave, not common. Things like that. There's a certain severity. If you give me more examples of what you're experiencing, I could probably tell you what's common or what's more typical, and then what's not. But remind me, I will bring that with me, of what's normal aging and what's not. And you could post it on here if you want to, or we can you can share it at the next meeting, of just, it has like a list of different things, which is kind of nice as a little guide.
Right. I always thought what's important is when you say you can't find your car when you get out, even if you're not sure what's causing it, the worst thing is to not go out anymore. Because you're afraid you're going to lose your car.
Well, I'm so glad you bring that up, because there's been a big emphasis, even just in recent research, about, what are good ways to help our cognitive abilities. And one of them, and the big one, is social engagement, going out and doing things. I completely agree with you. Don't, if you feel scared about something that may have happened like that, you go out and you forget where your car is. Don't stop going to the grocery store. Don't stop going out to eat. I know it's kind of different right now with COVID and everything, that we're kind of limited to what we can do, but these types of, going on with these support groups and staying in touch with your family and your friends is so important for your cognitive health. A lot of people think that going to the grocery store is such a annoying thing, but it's actually really cognitively stimulating. You've got to organize your list. You've got to organize where you're going. You've got to plan. You've got to budget. There's so many components that help. Just having a conversation with a friend, you have to keep track of that conversation, word finding, answering questions, retaining the topic of conversation. So there's so much that just goes into social engagements and social activities and just communication socially, that's so important for your cognitive health.
Barry, I call it spatial memory. For example, it's pretty tight in our bathroom. There's a cabinet that sticks out, and I forget all the time that sucker is there. I'll turn around and bump into it. Is there any way beyond just, darn it, I better not do that again? Drills or anything, or take a picture of that?
No, so what I would suggest for right now, because we're gonna work this into like a working memory, put like a little, you could do like a sticky note or something very brightly colored before you go into that bathroom. That's gonna remind you that that cabinet's there, okay? So then every time before you even walk in there, you're already aware, oh, that's right, that cabinet. I'm gonna remember that cabinet's there. I'm not gonna run into it. So the more often you do that and you get into that repetitive memory of, oh, that's that cabinet, because you're always going to see that little, it's either a bright sticky note, or you can even write cabinet, just something to remind you that it's there. So eventually you're going to get so used to just every time you go past that door, without even, you would kind of take away the visual, then you're going to remember that that cabinet's there. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I thought you were just a pad on the corner.
Yeah, just something that's just like a little reminder that before even you go in there to set yourself up to almost hit it, you can just remind yourself, oh, that's right, there's that cabinet. And keep doing that for like a week or two, maybe 3 weeks, until you can start to take that little visual away, because you're already kind of creating a routine memory then that you know that that's cabinets there.
Okay, so I shouldn't sign Idiot Gill or anything like that.
Yeah, something, whatever would be like your own little memory trick. And two, whenever I come to see you, we can talk more about it. We could figure it out, like what specifically it is that what would trigger you to remember it too.
Okay.
So I like what you say. Don't worry. Don't feel bad about doing little tricks to remember. Like if you can't find your car and you get one of those apps on your phone that tells you where your car is, it's better to do that than to worry about doing it without a trick.
Exactly. Yeah, don't try to do everything without help. Like there's so many different things now out there too. That's great. Like I forget what they're called now, but you can connect them to like your phone, your keys, or your wallet. It's like a tile.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
that.
Yep. I think they are so wonderful, because how often are you around and you're like, I totally forget where I set my phone or my keys. And then you can put in that or you hit like a button. I think it is on your phone, so hopefully you don't lose your phone, but some other way, or there's an extra tile and you hit the tile and then you find it. Like that's so wonderful. And it's just a great tool that we can use to help, rather than just, omitting of just being like, well, I'm just always going to forget it and I'm not going to use it anymore. I think we always have to be on that proactive side. You don't want to kind of sit back and lax and just kind of take it over, because that's the rate of your decline, and the cognitive effects are going to progress really fast.
Mhm.
So Carrie, how do these tiles work? In other words, you lost something like your keys to your car. You touch the tile for keys, and is it just a series of suggestions where to look, or does it really track the position of the keys?
Yeah, so it's like a little audio, like it's like a little alarm, like it'll beep and then you can find it. Hopefully if you're in the right area. Like I know I had a patient that had when we could not find her remote anywhere, and she had the tile for the remote and she pressed the button and then we found it, and it was like buried underneath like her mattress. But it's like a loud, like an alarm that goes off.
You don't have any idea what the application is called.
I think it's called just TILES, tiles, I think.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. That's the one we had.
Me
Yeah.
and Warren used to have them.
Warren, do you use your tiles?
I stopped using them, but we used them for a couple of years. But we don't seem to be losing anything right now.
But what we
Is
do
there-
have is our
Is there one for Who Am I?
For what?
what, Gil?
Do you say something?
I don't know.
Diana, what are you saying?
Oh, I was saying me and Warren have smartphones, so we have smart watches. So how many times, honey, do we use our watch to find our phone
Oh yeah,
in the
all the
house?
time.
I use it and all the time.
Yeah, it's like this. I
Find
don't know if you
my
can see it.
phone because I don't know where it is, and all I have to do is
It's this here.
do my watch, and then
Hear
it'll and we can find our phones.
I guess you're really in trouble if you can't find the pool.
that?
Yeah, we'd be in trouble. But we used to use the tiles a lot. I had one on my wallet, one in
Keys.
my car keys, one for the iPad, one for, we had one for everything because me and Warren were losing everything all the time.
I guess-
Where is it?
I guess we're not in a rush to go anywhere anymore.
No.
That's probably why. When we were
And-
working, it was different.
Well, we started habits. They say you should start a habit, like
Yeah.
where you put your keys. You hang them up and you make it, or you put them in a bowl near the door. So
Yep.
you develop habits. Well, I know I only leave my purse in 2 places, or I know I leave the phone in certain places. So you develop habits that this
Yeah.
is the only place I'm gonna put it. And then if you decide one day to change it up, good luck, because I have done that. And it's like, oh my gosh, I know I did something different. And now it's not there, and now I got to try to figure out where it is. And I don't
Where
even
do you
have
get
parking
these
space.
tiles?
You get them online.
And
Yeah, I found they're on Amazon. I found them right
Amazon.
here.
they have.
I have an iPhone and I have that feature too. It's like find my iPhone. I can use my iPad and it will make a noise or it'll show a little map. So you
Right.
know, okay, it's somewhere in the house or it might be in the garage. One time years ago, when my mother was in the nursing home, I couldn't find it. And here I could see from the map. I left it there at the nursing home.
Oh my.
I went back and found, got it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, they come in handy.
Yep.
They really do.
I didn't know you could do something like that for your keys and other stuff though.
Your purse, your wallet. Where's your purse? Your
And
wallet?
there's an extra thing that it does for you. It works on Bluetooth, and if somebody else that has a tile finds that on the floor, they could report it lost, and you'll get it back.
Hmm.
So that's one of the things that you can't do on your own. It's a whole network of people that have tile, and it could be stolen. Somebody could drop it off 100 miles away and throw it out or something, but then it'll show up if somebody finds it.
Like you could do with the phone, honey. Remember we found a phone when we were at Hershey Park,
Yeah.
and we could find the person.
My husband, one time we were on a trip and we were in Jamaica or someplace like that. And he left his phone in the restroom, and when he went back, it was gone. And when we got in the bus, we could trail where the stone was traveling across the country, but we wiped it out. So it would have been like a brick. It wouldn't have been any good to him. But
Wow.
Anybody else have any things that they want to talk about with Carrie? No? What's that? So
Well, I
Carrie, what-
mean, yeah, I was gonna say, Warren, you have my email, so if anyone ever has any questions, feel free to
Yeah.
reach out to Warren and he can ask me, and I'm more than happy to talk with you or help you or give you some strategies or exercises to try if you're noticing certain things
Right.
or
You gave-
interested in
You
therapy.
gave Warren exercises, right? Some of the, because I see him when he's doing
Yeah, I
his
like them.
homework.
Yeah,
I actually felt different after just about three or four times. It's almost
yeah.
like you exercise and you feel better. I actually felt better, and more aware when I started these, which just surprised me.
Well, good. I'm glad that's a good surprise.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Do you have any kind of techniques? Do you use any kind of techniques that combine physical therapy with cognitive therapy at the same time? Like where you're working out and trying to name state capitals or something like that?
Yeah, nope, that's exactly right. Yeah, we do different things like that, or you sequence things on the wall, like depending if you're doing like wall exercises, like stretches and things, Completely, yeah. Or like with every repetition, I always do the where you do like one apple. So you go one and then the letter, like it's consecutive through the alphabet. 2 bears, 3 cats, and then you go through all your sets like that. That's a good one to do.
It's exhausting when you do that.
Yeah.
If you're taking a walk, like on the street, and then you have to subtract like 100 minus 10 or minus 7, it's a lot different. Your walk slows down, you get wobbly, so it's definitely, if you can master that, it's going to really help your balance.
Right, I think that's what Kurt was getting at. We've been drilled at like walking around the house and at the same time naming animals, like what animal starts with an A, starts with a B, and so forth. And you're right, Warren, it's a stress. I feel it.
Hmm. But once you get used to it, then it just makes you feel better in general. And that's what I found.
A game that Laura and I play sometimes when we're walking is to start a story. You get to a certain point and then hand it off to your spouse, let her extend the story, pass it back and forth. It's really crazy.
You
That's
also
a good
sing
one.
together, right?
Sing together.
Yeah, I remember you saying you used to sing songs together.
Yes.
You still do that?
No, we haven't lately.
Yeah. That's the thing. You have to remember not to stop this stuff, because you probably feel better if you started it back up again.
Lauren, my day is so full now, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And that's a part of it too, like doing organization techniques for that. Cause yeah, your days get busy and it's a stressor on itself. So, kind of just taking a lot and kind of minimizing it in like little groups instead of taking on all one big one. Do you use like calendars, or how do you manage all the things that you do?
Yeah, we use calendar, Carrie, and I'm pretty careful about keeping lists with priorities so I can work on them as time becomes available.
Yeah.
I'm better off. But sometimes I don't. And then my whole day is shot.
Your whole day's shot. Yeah.
But what do you do when you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can't sleep and you have these great ideas? Do you get up or you just lay there in bed and grind away?
Write them down. You write them down. That's what I do.
And stay in bed and try to go back to sleep?
Last night I woke up at 2 a.m. and I just went downstairs and I came back up an hour later and I went back to sleep.
Okay.
Instead of fighting it, laying there, especially if you just change it up a little bit. It's all these things you try to make yourself feel better.
Yeah, especially if there's something that you like to do, whether it's a reading or listening to music, like, yeah, give yourself, sometimes your brain's, when it wakes you up like that, it's kind of signaling that it needs some kind of input. And whether that's something that you want to do, or like just take a little walk around, organize something. But yeah, like Warren says, don't fight it. You kind of want to just do something to kind of combat that or give an input.
A lot
Okay.
better than saying
What's
that's
that?
a lot better than Warren saying, Diana, are you up? Which drives me crazy. Like I am now, and then he'll fall asleep and I'll be up.
All right.
It's like, so I have to play
Start
possum sometimes.
Talking and telling a story.
So Carrie, what do you think about the 8 core cognitive capacities? You know about that? Or
I don't know.
It's,
Refresh my memory.
it's sustained attention, response inhibition, speed of information processing, flexibility and control, multiple simultaneous attention, working memory, category formation, and pattern recognition.
I I support all of those aspects of it. I think when I do therapy, and I think when we did this with you, like, I was like, what are your goals?
Right.
How do you learn best? Not everybody learns by reading something. Not everybody learns by listening to it or at hands-on. Everybody's so different. So I take each of those different capacities and I'm thinking, okay, which one is most likely to keep you at this functional level and then progress it versus then regress. So, I mean, I see the importance of all of it. Do I highlight all of them in every like cognitive session we do? No. And I think I just steer it more towards patient or person specific, you know, needs and goals. I mean, they're all great. And everybody, like I told you, the best way I learn is I actually have to read it and hear myself say it. I have to double. But some people, they can read it once and it's like that. Other people, reading, it just goes like through your eyes and out the back of your head.
Yeah. Some people are more visual.
Yeah, like my husband can do audiobooks. I can't pay attention to an audiobook. I have to read it and sometimes read out loud. But for me, it's more that visual, like holding the book and actually reading it. But he can read it, like listen to it in the car, and I can't pay attention that way.
Right.
I think I'm kinetic. I take notes.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah. I love that where you write things that you hear about or what you just heard. Yeah, that's a great one too. I'm a big advocate for writing things down too.
And I found something else here for the skills is that you work together with your brain and you take incoming information and move it into a bank of knowledge that you use every day, like at work, school, or life.
Mhm.
So what we're trying to do is find ways to get that in the bank, I guess.
Yeah.
And
And I think, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm saying that's what you do is you make whatever's most important to the patient, and you start with that instead of saying you need to do all these 8 things at the same time. You do what you want to do first,
Right.
and then you just keep adding to it.
Exactly. And then a lot of that is that routine memory. So if you want to do better at, let's say you want to get better at balancing your checkbook, then I'm going to throw a lot of fake checkbook registers to you and you're going to go over it and do that. You know, you have to, it's like a procedural memory and just routine memory to kind of get in that. And then we actually take your checkbook and start doing it, you know, like kind of specific to what you are noticing the most.
Yeah, and this is one of the few things that has no side effects. Like you're not gonna hurt yourself or overdose or have dry mouth. It's just you.
I hope, yeah.
Just you practicing.
If anything, people sometimes will tell me like, I'm just really tired. And that's okay too. If you need a little rest after you do cognitive therapy, that means it actually is pretty significantly working because your brain is actually, it can be exhausting.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, no dry mouth or anything.
Carrie, do you start with cognitive testing? Do you do some sort of comprehensive test before you get into the therapy?
Yes, so I use the SLUMS. It's kind of like a mini mental, but it has different components of it. So it goes into orientation, problem solving, word fluency, the executive functioning, and the memory. And it gives me a score on there, which again, I always tell people this isn't a pass or fail. It just gives me an idea of what areas are most deficit right now and what we want to work on. And I usually kind of go over that with each person.
Is there a score in each category?
Yeah, so anywhere from like 0 to 20, it's out of 30 points. So 0 to 20 is an indicator of dementia. 21 to 26 is a mild neurocognitive disorder, which is like kind of that typical, possibly just age related, or maybe needs a further direction or intervention. And then 27 and to 30 is normal cognitive. I always hate to say normal, but it's typical cognitive aging.
Anybody have any more questions? Any questions for Carrie? Carrie, you have anything that you want us to take away from this?
I mean, I always say, you know, don't step back. I want you to be proactive on overall health, whether it's physical, mental, cognitive, whatever. You know, just try to look for things to improve your cognitive settings. Like we always talk about this. Try something new every day. I think that's always a good challenge. You know, did I try something just different today? Even if it's as simple as eating with the left hand instead of the right. Like just do something that's just different in throughout your day, just to kind of throw your brain off, because if we get into a routine over and over again, we don't get as stimulated. So just try something new, read something new. I'm always a big advocate for reading. If you can still read, you know, or if you do audiobooks, listen, read new things. Knowledge is power for sure.
So if somebody here wants to talk to you further about this, who would they call? They call you?
Yeah, you can leave, or I can give my information if you have like on a page, or if anyone wants to contact me further and get a hold of Warren, and I can give you a call. If you feel like you want to do some cognitive therapy, if you feel like maybe you want to see if you're a candidate for it and you want me to come out for assessments, I'm more willing to give you Fox information too that we can set up through, we just get a script from your doctor. Anything like that, I'm more than happy to help.
It'll be called speech therapy, right?
Yeah, they call it speech therapy. I know, I get that a lot. I'll call people for speech therapy. Like, I can talk perfectly fine. I'm like, yeah, I know. But cognitive speech, whatever you want to call it, ST.
Yeah, why don't you just give your phone number for them to call?
Sure. So you can get, this is my personal number. It's 717 275 4864. And if you'd rather do email, you can email me at Carrie, Kari, dot Hofer, HOF as in Frank, F as in Frank, ER, at foxrehab.org.
Good. So
Okay.
everybody have that, or you want to repeat it, or is everybody got it?
Put it in the chat box.
Repeat it, please. Repeat it, please.
The email or the whole number too?
Telephone number, Gary, please.
Cell phone 717 275 4864.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody. I'll
Bye.
see you next week.
Yep,
All
so-
I'll see you
righty.
tonight,
Bye.
Diana.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Anybody have any more questions, or we could wrap it up?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Warren. Thanks.
Yeah, thank Carrie.
Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah, you're welcome. More than happy. This was really fun.
And
Like I said, look-
we'll do a podcast on this in a future date.
Sounds good.
Okay. Everybody
Okay. Everyone enjoy your days. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, guess we'll hang it up. Have a good day.
Buddy, it was nice seeing everybody.